again. I'm going to use Mike.
Real quick.
How's that? It's working. But they were both hot, so good. All right.
Testing.
I don't want to set the world on fire. I just want to start a flame in your heart.
Come on. It's the best free entertainment.
Call to order the regular Board of Education meeting at 6:30. Everyone wants to stand for Pledge Allegiance. This is the opportunity for first public comment. A member of the public may address the board briefly for up to 3 minutes or request to be scheduled on an agenda for future meeting. Please note, students will be given priority to speak on any topic. The first public participation portion of the meeting will be limited to 1/2 hour, normally and limited to agenda items. A second public participation portion will be offered at the end of the agenda and allow for any other comments. Individuals addressing the board should take into consideration the rules of common courtesy. The public participation portion of the meeting cannot be used to make personal attacks against board members, district employees, and students. And the normally part of this comment here. We have one public comment and nobody else here, so we're just going to let Lori Byron go first.
Hello. Hi, Lori Byron. I am a member of the Saline community. I live in York Township, and I am also a trustee for the Saline District Library. And I wanted to remind everyone here today and the folks who might be listening to the stream that the library, like other institutions, is also has a millage renewal on the August 4th ballot. You'll notice I said renewal. This is not a new tax. This is simply a renewal of the operating millage for the district library. And a couple of fun facts. The renewal is for the library's 20-year 0.55 millage that expired this year. Saline Library, however, is asking voters to renew this millage for 10 years at a reduced rate of 0.33 mils. Most of you know a mill is $1 for every $1,000 of taxable value. So on a home worth $400,000 with a taxable value of $200,000, 0.33 mils would be $66 per year. This is one of two millages that the Saline District Library has, and together they comprise about 92% of the library's revenue. When you look at your ballot, if you haven't already voted, the library's millage is on the back, so please turn it over. And as a parent, I raised two children who went through Saline schools and used the library a lot. I also have used the library a lot from the time my kids were little and I took them to the library and had to forcefully pull them away from the puppet stage. I'm sure some of you experienced that yourselves, to going to the library to walk through the pathways in the woods. We loved it. Later, as an adult, I have used the library to just be able to see other faces when I work from home to break up the time. I check out a lot of books, both physical books and ebooks. And Mr. McVeigh, listening to a book is reading. You and I had a conversation about that. The library provides a lot of services for the Saline community. While it is a separate institution, an organization from the school district and the city, it does serve the same footprint as the school district. So approximately 28,000 residents get to enjoy the library. In the last year, over 250,000 items were checked out. There were over 150,000 visits to the library, and that is my time. So thank you so much. Hope you will support the library millage renewal.
Thank you.
Tim, could I just invoke a point of privilege? I am a big fan of reading or listening to books, just so you know. 10,000 years of oral tradition can't be wrong. So just wanted to make sure that was clear.
Okay. So now we are response to public comment. We have none. Revisions and approval of the agenda. Can I have a recommended motion to approve the agenda as printed?
So moved, McVeigh.
Support Tizities.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Motion carries 6-0. Superintendent updates.
Thank you. Good evening, and thank you, Lori, for being here tonight, sharing about that. I also am a huge fan of the library and come from a library family. So I have a few updates to share. It is summertime in Saline area schools, so I'm going to stick to a few of our top priorities so everyone can hear some updates. As we have shared over the past several months on the August 4th ballot is, again, 2 renewals that Saline area schools has on that ballot. And if you're weighing your options on your absentee ballot, of course, that could be sitting in your kitchen right now. That is the CARES Recreation Playground Millage and our Sinking Fund. Both of them are renewals and have been approved by our community in previous cycles. So just a little bit, again, about this, as I know hopefully our board and leadership of the district will also share some tidbits about our proposals. Sinking funds are very common for Michigan schools. Those dollars have been long used by our teams here through the governance of the board to improve our facilities, and those facilities support not only our K through 12, pre-K through 12 students, but of course the community, as we host a number of community events. If you're ever around on the evenings and weekends, you know what I'm talking about. We have been careful stewards of these sinking fund dollars through ongoing facility monitoring and planning throughout the district. So one of the most powerful things that I think our team does really well is that being proactive about our buildings and planning with these funds. So it's not a surprise when things happen. And so this intentional approach has helped Saline area schools to prioritize projects such as roofing. We're looking right now at security at the high school with some door changes that need to be made, and protecting the general fund, which is where we use those dollars for instructional needs to educate our kids. So this allows us to continue to care for buildings and grounds responsibly and being good stewards of that money, and that is a renewal. I also wanted to, again, I've been talking about this most months, so last opportunity before you get in front of that absentee ballot or in front of that booth. Is it still booths? I think it's still a booth. Our CARES millage supports community education, Saline Area Senior Center, and so many other things. And so I'd really encourage you to visit our website if you have questions. I'm really proud of the work that we've done to make chunked content. So if you're looking for a quick read, we have provided resources there, an updated fact sheet as well. And so that compact information is available to you there. I wanted to also, as I committed to doing until we purchase the property officially and then begin work on it, the Heinz Drive Property Early Childhood Education Center that we're looking to finalize a purchase on is happening quickly. Most days we're checked into some final pieces there, our team is. This is to serve families and is strategic to ensure our entire system is connected. So just wanted to give some updates on that. Our due diligence is still progressing very well. We recently had environmental assessments and other inspections come back, and those have been coming back since the May when you move forward on that property to do due diligence. And what's really exciting is our partners have been so incredibly available and helpful throughout the summer to start talking about what the footprint looks like. So we even have some initial building designs that, of course, we would hold on until we finalize that purchase, but that should be if not August 1st, as we had anticipated, very shortly after. And again, we are working with our partners. A heads up today that you did receive my first community message since the last one of the school year. So we intentionally didn't want to, I know everyone's enjoying summer, but I did pop up in your email box today. And in that community message, you will notice a stakeholder survey, one that we have held off on for a little while. You'll notice this new survey is from a new partner. So we partnered with Panorama. And it is evidence of really careful reflection of feedback that we've collected over the course of the past 9 or 10 months, which is the length of surveys that have been done in the past. And so you will notice that you could sit down, I don't know, on the deck, at the pool, and maybe accomplish the survey in about 9 or 10 minutes. And that's really exciting because your feedback is incredibly important, but your time is also important to us. And lastly, I just wanted to mention, I said in our community message today, and I know I talked to many folks while we're still here 12 months a year doing all of the work, but our instructional leadership team went to training together as a team at the end of June, and it really affirmed and energized our work in special education and all of the work we do for all students in the district. The experience reinforced our principals, for our principals and our instructional leadership team at the district level, that our work here every day is for all students. We are continuously looking to improve ourselves as leaders and do so in the service of students and families. The themes that we brought home will continue to map perfectly to the work underway in our strategic plan and to continue to align our beliefs with action, and to keep access for all students at the center of every decision we make, as I know our board does as well. Tonight, you will hear a presentation from our special education leadership of the district. I know you will see this commitment shine through tonight and in the work we continue to do every day. But these are strong examples of how we are collaborating, improving, and keeping every student at the heart of what we do. So I look forward to that presentation and cannot thank Julie and Monica enough for all of the work you do for students and to all of our leaders for focusing on all students. And I'll see you in August.
General and committee updates are from trustees. Do we want to start anywhere? Okay.
The policy committee was able to meet yesterday. We moved through a number of topics. I think it was one of our most productive meetings so far. Our next meeting is set for July 28th, and we'll be tackling a bulk of the remainder big items. We hope that by this Friday, we'll be able to roll up to the board some of the sets that have already been reviewed and approved by the policy committee for review for the entire board, so that our following meeting we can have any open discussion on those items. But we're making great progress. Dr. Kowalski's team has done an amazing job getting us set up and getting all the questions lined up for our district council and get all those answered. And I am hopeful that we will be able to button all this up before the start of school.
The Strategic Planning Committee met today and sat down with a representative from the ESP, and we look forward to continuing that work and maybe bringing a draft forward in August.
Thank you. The Finance Committee met this evening, and I do have a few things to share. I'm going to just run off just before I talk about the Finance Committee, I just want to say my employers sent me to Orlando the day after our team was down there. They can keep that humidity. Thank you. I was there with the International Society for Transforming Education. They've changed the name from Technology and Education because we've merged with another group. I just wanted to say that we addressed things that will probably bubble up into this meeting as well. Techlash on the part of many community members is what they're calling it, a backlash to technology in the classroom. Also, I was at a lot of sessions dealing with multiple frameworks for dealing with artificial intelligence in schools. It is here, folks. And finally, vendors, many of whom I recognize from our own dealings and looking at some of their contracts. So it was a really interesting 3 or 4 days. So on to the Finance Committee. We had a very good discussion about the CARES, first of all, the CARES and sinking fund millage efforts coming up. And for the rest of my board members, I just wanted to remind you all that we have these very helpful informational items that you should pick up from Jackie Martin. Or do you have some here today, Jackie, in this room? She will. So grab some before you leave. We also had a discussion about the CARES grant itself and how grants are awarded. And we have a start on a rubric and more discussions to come. But it was a very helpful discussion. I think it was an opportunity we had guest Brian Puffer in from Community Education to help us sort through some of those issues. And I appreciated that. So we're moving ahead with that piece of work. I had a pre-audit phone call with the Plant Moran folks this week to discuss the next steps for our annual audit, which should be reported to us by the end of, or by one of our October meetings. Jeff Higgins and his team are going to come here and chat with us. The audit looks at bond compliance to make sure we're not buying things that aren't appropriate in the bonds. And they look closely at our financial statements and how we interact with federal programs to make sure we are using federal dollars properly. Our goal is to create or to have an unmodified audit opinion. We call it a clean audit, and in this case we've had some excellent unmodified audits in the past, and I'm looking forward to more in the future. So if you have, any member of the board has any issues or concerns about potential misstatements that they might be sensing in the system, please draw them to my attention, and I'll send them in a phone call to Jeff Higgins and the folks at Plant Moran. And I did have one other thing. I attended an online session a few days ago to talk about the school aid budget. And I just wanted to share with the rest of the board and the community who might be listening in. The budget was passed a few days late, but the school aid budget was passed with a historic foundation allowance increase of $10,300 per pupil. That's a 2.5% increase. There are a couple of notable changes. One is a move to a 3-year blended student count. So rather than just use the student count I'm looking at Miranda to make sure I get everything right. Rather than just use the count of students that we have in our buildings in October, we can use our former blended counts. We used since COVID, we've been using a 90-10 blend, 10% from the previous year, 90% from this year, and blending them together. Now we can take an average of those past 3 blended counts to create our current count, which could affect some districts a lot more than it affects us. Also, there were increases in funding for students with special needs, as well as significant new investments in literacy initiatives. The MIPSERS, the Michigan Public School Employees Retirement System, funding saw no changes to contribution rates, and many districts are going to benefit from lower health care rates. Finally, I did want to note that all Michigan schools will now be required to ensure that we have implemented the presidential fitness test. I grew up with the Canadian fitness test in the olden days, and we got a badge, the whole thing. I have my participation badge. I'm sure I didn't get a gold, silver, or bronze. However, I have been assured that this fitness test does not carry over to board members. So there we go. Also, we can now use up to 3 virtual learning days if we go above and beyond our allotment of school closure days. There are a lot of restrictions and caveats around that, but I'm just letting you know that those are potentially at our disposal. So those are a few highlights from this year's budget. 3 days late, and I think it's being signed by the governor this week, unless it already has. So that's my news. Those are my updates. Thank you.
The athletic committee has been struggling to get a meeting set up just because of everything that's going on with summer and vacations. However, we've had some very robust conversations about some items that will be discussed next time we get together. On one note, I did want to recognize Rex for the tremendous job they're doing with the facilities at the high school. The entire lighting banks have been replaced. We're going to have full lights for Friday night lights this fall, which will be super cool. And if you haven't noticed, the entire fence line in front of the stadium is being replaced, and they're doing an A+ job on that. As far as the millage goes, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Lori. Thank you for the presentation on the Saline District Library. I was not aware of that. The first thing we do when we visited Saline for our tour when we first decided to move here, I was impacted by 3 things. One was when we toured the school, the pool I was just absolutely blown away with. The Performing Arts Center I was completely blown away with. And then we happened to spend our first year in a townhome directly across from the library. And that was one of our first stops, was to get our library memberships. And the library has become my personal office for studying. I hide out in the back and do all my continuing education for my job, which has been fantastic. So really enjoy the library. And I think it's easy to take things for granted when we have a lot of success in a community. I came from a community that couldn't hold a candle to Saline. So I think it's easy to cut the cord on some of these programs, but these millages and this CARES recreation, as I've got to know more about them, that's really what makes Saline so special. So I would encourage everyone to support these, because without the support, a lot of these programs are going to go away over the years, and that's going to be the slow deterioration of some really great things in Saline that are happening.
Great. Okay, so we're going to move on to action items. Thank you all for your committee updates. Recommended motion to name the following banks and depositories for the various funds of Saline area schools in fiscal year 2026-2027 year. Bank of Ann Arbor, Michigan Liquidated Asset Fund, and Old National Bank.
So move Berwick.
Support Tizities.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Hearing none. Motion carries 6-0. Recommended motion to authorize Rachel Kowalski, Superintendent, as the primary signer on the all checks written by the district, with Miranda Owsley, Assistant Superintendent of Finance, as alternate on all accounts listed. Bank of Ann Arbor 2025 bond checking account, Michigan Liquidated Asset Fund, the 2025 bond investment account, and the general fund investment account. Old National Bank, we have the general fund payroll, community education, recreation cares, food service, student activity, the edge, flex benefits, Mastro, I'm not sure, 2018 BNS 2 debt service, 2021 BNS 3 debt service, 2018 refunding debt service, 2023 BNS 1 debt service, 2025 BNS 2 debt service, 2026 refunding debt service, the sinking fund, Paul Handy Scholarship Fund, Horticultural Award, Randy Hoffman Fund, Rachel Townsend Fund, Dora Mae Mayer Memorial Scholarship, Catherine Steiner Burr Scholarship.
I never thought it would end. Motion Berwick.
Support McVeigh.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 6-0. I'm glad I don't have to reconcile all those accounts. Yeah. Recommend a motion to authorize Rachel Kowalski, Superintendent, and Miranda Owsley, Assistant Superintendent of Finance, as signatures and on transfers of investment monies.
Motion, Tizzies.
Support Gold.
All in favor? Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 6-0. Recommend a motion to adopt a resolution to continued participation in the State of Michigan School Loan Revolving Fund as submitted by Assistant Superintendent Miranda Owsley.
Motion McVeigh.
Support, Tizzies.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 6-0. Recommend a motion to appoint the Troon Law Firm PC of Lansing, Michigan, and Collins and Blaha PC as legal counsel for the school district or board for the 2026-2027 school year. In addition, the district is authorized to utilize other law firms pending areas of expertise.
Motion, Tizzies.
Support Hanson.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 6-0. Recommend motion to approve bid package number 6 for the Saline High School Pool Improvement Project in the amount of $3,333,667 to Clark Construction, and enter into contracts with each trade contractor listed below as recommended by Clark Construction in conjunction with King Scott Associates and submitted by Rex Clary, Executive Director of Operations. The breakdown is building demolition, Blue Star for $254,100, pool concrete, DSP Constructors for $344,788. General trades would be Carpentry Concepts for $225,000. Swimming pool systems, Aquatic Source LLC for $468,500. The pool tile will be Omega Floors for $585,000. HVAC will be Monroe Plumbing and Heating for $639,000. Electrical will be Amcom Incorporated for $282,200. Subtotal trade costs would be $2,798,588. A construction contingency for Clark Construction will be $434,105, and construction field general contractors contingency, Clark Construction for $100,974, which brings the grand total back to the $667. I'll move it.
So
Tim.
move Berwick.
Okay, Berwick.
Support, Tizzies.
Any questions on this?
Rex, is there a contingency if the funding is not available if we move forward with the contract?
funding for,
The funding for the pool, I'm sorry, for the pool specifically. Is any of the funding for the pool in jeopardy at all?
with this?
Yes.
No.
No. Okay.
No. This is part of the facility needs assessment when we did the bond to the treasury. So all this is set. It's all covered. It's within budget. We had good bid coverage, but there were two specialty contractors. One was Pool Systems. That's a specialty type trade. And understanding how the pool works, and Aquasource is one of the best. So I'm glad they were able to bid this project and fit it into their schedule for next summer. And then the hydraulic floor. The hydraulic floor is coming out, and we're going to replace that with cement. It will not be a movable, adjustable floor anymore. That stopped working roughly 2 years after the pool opened. There's a lot of risk to what's underneath that. That bulkhead, that movable bulkhead's got to come up. It's got to be moved 3 times during this whole process while we refinish the pool. So there's those two bid categories that were limited coverage. We still felt we had really good pricing, and we have really good contractors to do the work. Just to fill the pool could take weeks. And there's a dollar amount on there that it's crazy, but it is what it is at this time. So, but no, none of this funding is in jeopardy whatsoever.
That was what I was wondering. How often does this kind of pool, repair need to be undertaken? I was a little bit
I'm nervous.
gobsmacked, I guess, by the cost of this and how frequently do you foresee this?
It's a very corrosive environment. You've seen that, unfortunately, Tecumseh area schools have demolished their pool because of the corrosion that happened in the roof. The rec center has gone through their problems and trying to keep it up and running and at a top-notch facility. This is the first time we're going to do major renovations to this pool since the pool opened in 2004. So this type of work with new HVAC systems, and our pool, I think our environment is one of the best. You still have struggles on hot days like today, trying to keep the dehumidification and keep things going, but it's this type of investment that'll keep it going for another 25 years, another 20 years.
What's the timeline on when this is going to?
As soon as the winter season comes to an end, which is swim and dive boys or girls? They will start during spring break, and then the unified water polo teams will practice either in Milan if there's still a unified team there, and make other plans for that for the spring season. And so now go all the way through August, and our goal is to have it reopened by August 10th, let's say, for the fall season next year, 2027.
And I'm assuming building demolition is just demolition of the old pool, not an actual
Finish,
build, yeah.
Yep, tile, certain things inside the pool, carpet, HVAC equipment, that kind of stuff.
Thank you.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 6-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Recommend a motion to approve the adoption of Retopia to the pre-K through young adult life skills curriculum beginning in the 2026-2027 school year as recommended by Julie Volker, Executive Director of Special Education.
Motion, Tizities?
Support Berwick.
Any questions on this?
I enjoyed what you shared through the board packet, and if you're behind it, I'm behind it.
Okay, great. No other questions? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 6-0. Thank you. Recommend a motion to approve the purchase of 2 model year 2027 school buses from Midwest Transit through the MSBO Cooperative Bus Purchase Program, consistent of 1 77-passenger IC school bus in the amount of $181,651 and 1 IC special needs lift bus in the amount of $193,501 for the total bus purchase of $375,152. Further approval, the purchase and installation of cameras and radio equipment by C3 Communications in the amount of $12,556 for a total project cost of $387,708.
Motion, Tisdales?
Please support. I'll support it. Austin, any questions?
And I was just wondering how the price of this compares to one of the electric buses.
So, happy you'd ask. So, I brought with me tonight our transportation manager, Tracy Mulcair, and Michigan Association of Pupil Transportation board member. Tracy served as a board member this last 2 years. She just got back from conference at Boyne City and Boyne Highlands for the MAPT conference. And then she's also here. She can answer questions about the school bus as well as the electric school buses that we had running for the last almost 6 weeks. So, take it away.
I believe our electric buses were just under 400,000, like 370 something. I don't have that number in front of me.
Do you know how much of that was offset with the grants?
It should be 100%, right, Miranda?
Excellent.
The special needs lift bus, is that a replacement or is it an additional?
It is an additional, we pulled 2 very old lift buses out of service this last year. They just, as buses get old in Michigan, they just don't work like they used to. And we are finding that we are having an increase right now, an uptick in needs for that lift and also for air conditioning on buses, which is what those have. Air conditioning is another thing that fails over time. We have one at the dealer right now being worked on, and again, we're just finding that our needs are really increasing for those.
Tracy, right?
Yes,
Rex, Tracy, I have a question about our electric buses.
sure.
I've heard about them. I haven't seen them yet. Would you be averse to possibly having a kind of a hard hat tour for the school board and have us do a couple of donuts in the parking lot, a couple of loops around the school building in the buses just to see how they work and give us a little tour?
I would. We talked about that for a minute, didn't we?
We did, but
yes.
the rest of the board needs to get pulled into this
So
conversation.
it sounds like maybe before a meeting, maybe a good time. It sounds like that's when you typically take tours.
Yeah, I can work with Board President Austin on scheduling that.
Okay.
Awesome. I think that would be a lot of,
And Rex or I, either one of us could take you for a ride.
all right.
But no donuts.
No, of course not.
Dr.
No,
McVeigh.
well, that would be some good, healthy, wholesome fun, I think.
It would.
All right, thank you so much.
Any other questions? No. Okay, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 6-0. Okay, now we're going to go into our scheduled report, the Special Education Department Annual Report, presented by presenters Julie Volker and Monica Ellis.
Awesome. Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to present all the amazing things that happened in our special ed department this past year. We're really pleased to share the highlights from the school year and the work of our department, and our review is going to focus on a few areas: access, growth, safety, and belonging for our students across the district. So our purpose this year was really centered in 6 principles and priorities. So together we worked with our team to develop and live through these priorities. And those were to understand, to deepen understanding of students' needs, to strengthen our instructional practices, to invest in our staff, to reduce crisis through proactive support, to expand our post-secondary options for students and pathways, and to foster belonging and inclusion for all. As a highlight to our department and our students, we wanted to present and let you know that we support 809 students in our district with special education eligibilities and IEPs, and that represents about a total of 17% of the student population. How we support those students is through our continuum, and those supports look like having teacher consultants and special ed teachers in the classroom, resource room teachers, early childhood special education. Can you hear me? I don't know if I'm being too loud. Okay. Speech language paths, occupational therapists, physical therapists, social workers, school psychologists, BCBAs, our paraprofessionals, our registered behavior technicians. We also have our young adult program here in our own district, as well as our early childhood programming, and then also our assistive technology, our augmentative communication device supports that we have throughout the district, and our behavior support. So we are very lucky with all the supports that we have for our students and our teams in Saline area schools. Everything starts with understanding our students' needs. So our focus this year has really been on how to support our staff with creating very meaningful and in-depth IEPs. And all of that work begins first with an understanding of the process. This year, Monica and I in our department, we developed guidance documents for our team, we developed training for our team, and ongoing consistent support out of our office for all of our staff members. From there, our special ed teams and buildings focus intentionally on meaningful evaluations so that we can get baseline data to understand the needs of our students, and then we develop our plans in conjunction with families, all of our teachers, our ancillary support staff, and then throughout the year we progress monitor to ensure that we're meeting students' needs with our plan. So Readtopia, I know it's a little bit backwards, but we did want to give you a little bit more in-depth knowledge of why we chose this program for next year. We launched a spring pilot, and we had all of our life skills teachers engage in the pilot, and we had really great feedback from them. But to understand a little bit more about Readtopia, we really were looking for a continuum of curriculum that would support kiddos from pre-K all the way through young adult, and we finally have found it. So Readtopia, although it talks about literacy, literacy comes in many forms, including math, science, and social studies, and Readtopia brings all of that together under 30 thematic units in each of the grade levels that it covers. So for our littlest learners from pre-K to grade 2, it's Readtopia Go. And then from 3rd through young adult, it's Readtopia. There is really good research and evidence. All of the work of Readtopia is grounded in the science of reading. There is consistent support across the implementation of the program with not only Readtopia and Building Wings, which is the founding company, but also with our WISD. They've been doing work with Readtopia and collecting data for quite some time, and they've developed additional thematic units that they've given us access to. And we are planning some emergent literacy training in partnership with the WISD for all of our life skills teachers. So we're super excited to bring it to the district. Thank you for your approval. We did a little bit of a cost and benefit breakdown. Readtopia actually will reduce our need for another program that we've been using that doesn't have as strong of the science backing and the evidence. And I think that program was about $8,500 a year for access to it. So we're going to eliminate that one as we put Readtopia into place. And so the estimated cost is approximately $17,000 per year.
Good evening. Thanks for having us tonight. So when we looked at, I'm at that age where I'm on, off, I can see here, so I'm sorry about that. We looked at our staff, and we are very proud to invest in 2 programs this year. Our paraeducators spend an enormous amount of time with our students, and they know them very well. And one of the things that we're really excited about is through the new ESP contract, we have paraeducators being immersed in professional development right alongside our certified staff. So this summer, 4 of our paraeducators went to the MACE Paraeducator Boot Camp with the idea of them coming back and planning and developing training and implementing that training throughout the school year. So we're super excited about that. We're looking at our paraeducators as instructional partners, and that's a exciting place to be. The other program that we're very excited about, and we started last year, we have had registered behavior technicians in the district. We first started contracting right after COVID when we couldn't hire them, but now we have 10 of our own, and they were either brought over from a contract or they were paraeducators that have then been developed through this cohort. And right now we have, when it says new RBTs, those aren't newly hired, those are our paraeducators that moved into that role. We have 2 in training, and then we have 3 that we just put through to start the training. So that's really excited. They complete a comprehensive 40-hour training, and they have to work with our board-certified behavior analysts through the school year, but they're really grounded in the evidence-based practices that support behavior and just in a real proactive manner. So again, very excited about those 2 things. You gave me this. In looking at some strategic hiring of new staff, we were very fortunate to be able to bring on 5 new roles. We are adding 1 BCBA, so we will have a total of 4 in the district. They will split the buildings and be integral parts of those teams to address behavior. We also have 2 instructional specialists, and they will focus on a real strong coaching role so that we can deliver specially designed instruction, really work with our staff members to implement the IEP work that we have done, and it is a coaching role. So that is really exciting. It is not Julie or I overseeing it. We will oversee the instructional specialist, but we're always looked at in an evaluatory way. So this is someone that can sit down side by side with our staff to really move instruction for students. The other position is an additional psychologist. We are, I will say, inundated with requests for evaluations. Our preschool population is very robust, and with that comes a lot of evaluation time. So we need to reduce the workload of our current psychs. They need to be timely. Those evaluations have 30 school days that they have to be completed. The other part of the role for the school psych will be engaging in the MTSS work. So that would be the preventative work before those special education evaluations. So we're very excited to have new staff joining us. The other role is the speech pathologist. That person will serve both our young adult population and our early childhood preschool population. We go out into the preschools to service them. So as the preschool populations are growing, the need for those speech services are also growing. The next slide talks about that goal of safety. We want to make sure not only our students are safe, but our staff is safe. And this slide shows the last 5 school years, and very happy to report that this trend data from the last 5 years is moving in a very positive direction. We want to make sure that everybody is aware that seclusion and restraint is used as a last resort. It is when imminent danger is present for either the student themselves or other students or staff. But this has been very intentional work, and I think some of the things that have come out of this is, we've been very diligent in planning with addition of BCBAs, our RBTs. We've also looked at, we continuously monitor this data, so we have a small team that sits down on a monthly basis to look at it and look at our plans, making sure our FBAs, using lots of acronyms, our functional behavior assessments, our behavior plans are all really rooted in research and evidence-based work. There is a small blip into 24-25, a little bit of an increase, but it really is in line with the overall decrease over the last 5 years. And this is information about our positive our secondary, post-secondary plans. So we partner with MRS, Michigan Rehabilitation Services, and we have partnered with them, I would say around 10 to 12 years. And one of the things that we do is, because we are mandated to provide transition services, we heavily lean on MRS to provide some of those transition supports. So we have an investment of about $20,000 in a ICTA agreement, and this is a interagency cash agreement. They support us with approximately $54,000, but I want to kind of highlight what the investment brings us. And Julie and I sat down with MRS just in the last couple of weeks to look at what supports they were providing our students, and they have authorized through other funds. Obviously, it's not enough just what we contribute and they contribute, but we have some local funds, some state and federal funds. But our students are receiving approximately $229,000 worth of services. Those services look like job coaching, job exploration, work-based learning. So a lot of our students are involved in those work-based experiences right now. So again, very important work, and I think it's certainly an investment that we are getting a big return on.
Okay, and as we continue talking about post-secondary options, we are super excited to talk about Project Search. So this year, Monica and I have been partnering with the state as well as with the founder of Project Search to explore the possibility of bringing Project Search to our district. So to understand a little bit about Project Search, it is a program that began at the Cincinnati Children's Hospital in 1996, and it's grown into an established international school-to-work program model. What makes the program different is that students, our young adult students, spend the full year immersed in a host workspace. So we create a partnership with a local business where our students, we develop a classroom in that business. We have an educator and job skills coaches in the business where they actually work side by side with employees of that business for a full year through 3 rotations of internships. The program, since 1996, has served more than 55,000 interns, and it is not only in the United States, there's 800 sites worldwide. So this is a program that is highly recognized and rooted in research. Project Search prepares students for employment through sustained workplace experiences, individualized instruction, and job coaching. Students develop technical job skills, and they also build communication, independence, problem solving, time management, and the ability to respond to feedback. Research has found much stronger employment outcomes for students who participate in Project Search. In Michigan, the last big data poll that they did was for the graduates of the 22-23 year, and 88% of those participants across Michigan were employed, meaningfully employed. And that looks like at least 25 hours a week with prevailing wages. Some of the other data, there was a national research project that they did with multiple work sites in multiple states. And students, they had a control group of students with autism as well as the Project Search students. And you can see here that 73% of the participants in Project Search were gainfully employed within 9 months after their graduation from Project Search, compared to 17% of the control group. And at the 1-year mark after graduation, 87% of those students were still employed. So we have, again, partnered with Project Search. We plan to begin our work this year. It's a planning year, 26-27. During that planning year, we will be working with the two project search leaders of the state, as well as the founder, Susie Rakowski out of Ohio, will be building a partnership with a local business. Our projection is Trinity Health System. They're very interested. We're meeting with them in August to start that work in that partnership. Trinity Health has project search sites in Livingston County, as well as I believe it's Midland. So they've already done this work, and they've really wanted to be in Washtenaw County, and we would be the first project search site in Washtenaw County, so we're super excited. How it would work, the intern experience, the goal is to have 8 to 10 students in the internships. We may start a little smaller than that while we perfect, and that internship would start the year of 27-28 after we've done our planning year. Usually it's 8 to 10 students, ages 18 to 26. They get immersed in the full-time experience at the partnership business. They will have 3 internships throughout the year, and then at the end of the year, they would graduate, and they would be gainfully employed. Oftentimes, we do provide services 18 to 26, but oftentimes students are ready for gainful employment before that, and this is providing them with all the skills they need to be able to do that. Let's see. Some more stats just around the efficacy of the program in Michigan. And this was also very exciting. So we applied for and received a grant for Project Search. So what that grant includes is our first year, about $33,500 in our initial site license, some of our training, our partnership with the state, all the technical assistance that we'll need. And then there's also $100,000 that's involved in the grant that will pay for an educator, a full-time educator for the 27-28 school year. So this allows us to launch this program with minimal cost investment, and really partner strongly with folks that are leaders in this work. That's it for Project Search.
So this is talking about our unified sports, and this is where we, again, are very proud that we have belonging for many, many of our students who have never had the opportunity to be involved in something like this. So we have students with different abilities, and they're partnered with their same gen ed peers on a team. And we've had competitions with Dexter and Milan and Chelsea, and then we've also been able to go to Little Caesars Arena and have a big stage, right, for this. So as we are looking at this, a lot of the benefits, there's inclusion. It's not just a program, it's not just a place, it's really a philosophy, it's a what we do, and unified sports is where this kind of comes alive. And it's not only a valuable experience for our students with different abilities, but it's also a valuable experience for our gen ed peers. They learn some empathy, they learn some leadership, so it's been a win-win for everybody. In terms of where we would like to go with this, we would like to expand to other sports. We would like to expand to other buildings. This is not in every building. There is some peer-to-peer programming that is in every building, but we would also like to expand that. And then looking at opportunities outside of Washtenaw County. There are other schools that we can partner with, and those are all very exciting possibilities.
And we are also very lucky that we have a partnership with our Special Ed Advisory Committee, which is a parent group that supports other parents within the district, as well as has a partnership with Monica and myself to really think deeply about special education needs across the district. They shared with us a few things to highlight, and there's some things that we would just like to highlight also about our partnership. So we're so proud to recognize the work of the SEAC. This parent-led committee is an important partner to families, the department, and the broader school community. How they support families is they engage in really active community partnerships. They are parent representatives at every building for folks to reach out to. They help parents understand their rights, their roles, and their responsibilities in pursuing special education for their students. They provide family support and resources and community events, and they collaborate with Monica and myself monthly. We meet every month. So some of the ways that they connect with families is through playdates and picnics for students and families. They have had multiple over the course of this past year at different elementary schools, and people bring a picnic or bring some food, and everyone has an opportunity to meet and connect. They've also facilitated and developed some social events for kids and teens too, so all age groups. They build community through monthly parent coffee hours, which is fantastic. So some of the times the coffee hours usually have a topic, and some of the past topics this year is navigating the IEP process, community safety, handling and preparing for transitions, summer program and resource options, and strengthening collaboration and communication between families, educators, and the community, and administrators. So some of the things that Monica and I would like to look ahead to for next year is strengthening specially designed instruction and IEP implementation across the district. And we have some really good supports and plans in place for that. Continue reducing restraint and seclusion through proactive systems. Expand Retopia implementation and measure local impact. We'd like to continue to launch the Para-Educator Learning Series and to grow that and develop that in partnership with the paras, and to continue to grow leadership pathways for our paraeducators. We're constantly focused on growing the RBT program and the BCBA coaching systems, and to build out Project Search. And that's one of our biggest goals this year. And that's it for us. We appreciate it. We are more than happy to, oh no, I'm sorry. This is so very important. We wanted to highlight a quote that was sent in by a parent. So when we're thinking about every data point that we do, that we look at to determine services, how we develop our goals and our mission, it's always centered in students. And we thought this was a really good way to highlight how our special ed teams are able to support our students. So this parent wrote in to say that when their students started school this year, they had so much anxiety, they had a hard time even walking in the building. But through the team's ability to connect to the students' needs and build a plan that supported the student, they're thriving, and they had a really successful year. So.
Questions?
The presentation was really good, thanks, because I was jotting down notes, and as you went through the presentation, a lot of them got answered. A couple questions on the seclusion and restraint data, that it's great decreases. The data on the student injuries and staff injuries, the student injuries indicated student to student, the staff injuries did not. So could you explain a little bit about how we're counting that decrease and how it's actually factored?
Yep, so we have injury report, so student to student, either student to student or student to staff, there's injury reports that are automatically filled out. We document those, we receive those after they come in through Informed K-12, and everything's documented around the incident. Not all require medical treatment, but all are documented.
Okay, so if it didn't require medical treatment,
It's still included.
Okay,
Yep.
excellent. And the project search, it sounded really interesting, and you had the grant dollars indicated on there, and you want to grow and expand into that. How are we going to ensure that we can continue to fund that going forward?
So that is a great question. Monica mentioned a little bit about MRS. So it would be an additional teaching position because there will be the educator that is on site with the students doing the classroom education, and that would be their sole role, is being a project search educator for the 8 to 10 students. The job skills coaching that also is required. Our partnership with MRS, Michigan Rehab Services, through the ICTA agreement, which is the interagency cash agreement, will help support those roles. So that will actually be separate from our $20,000 investment that we end up getting almost $250,000 back from. There'll be a separate ICTA agreement that runs just for project search.
And you had also stated that the potential that some students may opt before they're 26 to move into this program. I think that could also be one of the ways we're looking to down the road. Maybe there's a good population of folks that want to do that and not be in the classroom here at Liberty. So it's just a kind of caveat to that as well.
I don't want to occupy all the time, but I have more questions. You had mentioned that you two meet with SEAC monthly. Does SEAC meet with any of the other team leads, department heads throughout the district?
They have connections with their principals, and they do speak with them and meet with them and talk about needs, building needs. So each building has SEAC representatives that are connected with the principals there.
Do they talk to the special ed department heads or just the principals?
I would say mostly the principals, but there might be some collaboration on specific topics, like PR. Pleasant Ridge was our site for the one of the picnics, so there is some of that staff involvement and collaboration there.
Thank you. It was a very detailed presentation, and as with Jason, you answered a lot of my questions in that information. I did appreciate that you started laying the groundwork with how many students have IEPs. It's important to acknowledge that it's a large population and a lot of students who deserve the resources that you're providing. I appreciated that you identified where you needed more staff. All of the behavior roles are really important in this work. I appreciated that you highlighted the maybe complexity of IEPs. That is an animal that is very complex and requires a lot of time and effort to make it meaningful for each student. I did want to say I was at Para-Educator Boot Camp this summer and recognized a couple of Saline faces, so that was nice to see. I also appreciated that you are identifying current staff and elevating their roles in who already are current with our students. Project Search looks amazing. This population needs those opportunities to earn a place in meaningful employment, and so I'm excited that this will do that for them. It was nice to see that the SEAC complements the work that you're doing, but I like that they are specifically providing services for parents. It's a great support group for parents with special ed kids. And it looked like their goals for the year were sort of complementing some of the work that you did. So I think that's a great collaboration. And just growing our para-educators, I really appreciate that as one myself. So thank you.
I wonder if you could discuss more about expanding the Unified Sport Program. I went to the Dexter game last year, and it was the most rewarding, gratifying event of the year. And not only just for the kids participating, but the students at the high school that were essentially coaching or helping put together the games. But then I even looked out in the stands, and there was just such engagement from everybody in this 10 or 15 minute period that I would love to see this expand in some capacity. And what restrictions or obstacles stand in your way? Is it finances? Is it just resources? How do we expand that?
That's a great question. I think part of it is resources. It is also a big commitment. Right now, we've had some volunteers step forward. There has been small stipends. Transportation is also always an issue for every sports team, right down to, finding uniforms and providing officials and all of that. So I think we will see some of the same challenges that some of the sporting teams see, but I think we do have people that are willing to step up and be coaches and have the athletes also, foster those roles within the school buildings. So I think there's some similar challenges, and one of them is definitely financial and transportation.
I think one of the goals for next year is also, we have some, Monica was saying, we have some uneven implementation. So we have some buildings that have multiple sports, some buildings that have one sport, and some buildings that just, they haven't built that yet. So we're looking to ensure equitable access for all students by building kind of a committee around unified sports and making sure that we are able to prioritize and systematize like how it's being implemented across the district. It's such a great program, and you're right, the energy is amazing and the opportunity is amazing, but how do we get more kids connected?
Hi, thank you for the presentation and all your work with our community. I guess one comment I always think about sports is that although, I love the idea of unified sports, and I love that we have really competitive sports teams. I often wonder why we can't just have intramural sports of some sort to get more kids moving, whether they have an IEP or a star athlete or not. Because there's a lot of kids who fall in the middle of that who really, like with how competitive our sports are here, just don't get much opportunities to just play for fun. And I don't know what the answer is to that, but that would be a really great thing to try to figure out. I wondered how our puberty and reproductive health classes are going with the special ed learners.
That has been I think, a very positive program and curriculum. We've had a lot of parents that are very excited about that. It's a program that then they can not take the actual program home, but have an opportunity to discuss it with their child. I think the other nice piece is that they are able to implement that at a different schedule based on the student's IEP. It doesn't have to be just in the spring, and then those lessons can be repeated over time. Because we know that our students need multiple exposures to curriculum. They're not going to understand or generalize it to their life. And I think it's been a very positive movement.
Are most families utilizing the materials in some way or the other? In other words, if you don't have the answer to this, but are most families, utilizing the curriculum, at least in part, for their students?
We do have some families that have chosen to opt out. But I think the nice part of it is that as the child or the student is developing and emerging in their understanding, they are able to access some of the curriculum. So it's not always all opt out. It's more when they're ready or when the family is ready.
That's good to hear. That's what I assumed would, not everything was going to be right for everybody, but was glad to have the option. I was also wondering about if there was going to be any transportation for the Trinity, potentially to the Trinity site. And I guess I would see that as some bit of a barrier toward kids sort of aging out of being in special ed school, where there is some transportation provided to getting out into the community. Is there planning around that?
Yep. So if the partnership with Trinity comes to fruition, which we have no reason to think that it wouldn't, we do have we have an obligation to transport. So essentially what we have discussed is having students start here at the 7:30 start time. We do have access to our vans. So one van would be dedicated to the transportation to go to the St. Joe's site, the Trinity site at Ypsilanti Ann Arbor border. And then they would be brought back by the end of the day for transportation home.
Great. And just one last thing. So I was looking up about Retopia and really impressed by some of the data, and I thought it was very exciting. The only, so then I always go looking for like what the negative findings are. And the only thing that I really saw standing out to me was that some of the teachers found it to be a lot of prep and a lot of work. How are our teachers finding it in this pilot program?
So the feedback that we've had from those who were deeply engaged has been positive. In addition, the ISD partnership, they've already anticipated that, and they've done a lot of the background work in each of the units for our teachers to be able to access instead of creating. So all the supplementary resources that they would need are already in a Google Drive for them.
Oh, go ahead, Mike.
Attracting and retaining teachers is hard, and it's probably even harder with the special ed staff. And I know from job postings, parapros are hard for us to hire, retain. Do you know what our teacher staff turnover rate is and how we compare to neighboring districts?
I don't have that information handy, but we can work on pulling that for you.
That'll be a follow-up from our strategic planning session, and then I'll combine that data and we'll get that to you.
Monica and Julie, thank you again for the presentation. Everyone seems to have loved it, and so did I. I do want to talk about seclusion and restraint for just a second. It first came to the attention of this board in about 2019. I think Tim may have been on the board at that time. Our numbers were out of control. They were very high, and what was also fascinating was that districts with 10,000 students were reporting 0 incidents, which led us to think, oh, ours seem pretty high because we're actually following the rules and reporting it. But over the years, I've really been quite impressed to see the focus that you and the team have, and the attention you've placed on that has been remarkable. As a former special ed teacher, I went through the trainings years ago, the restraint trainings and that sort of thing, and functional behavior analysis, and it's all extraordinarily important. But I just wanted to say thank you for years of obvious transparency, communication with the community, with the schools, with the parents, and also the training that obviously has gone in to making sure that it works. And I'm very impressed. We've come a long ways. It's a nice bow tied in my service to the board from when we started with the numbers at the beginning to see the progress that we've made. So thank you so much for that. Thank you.
So I guess I'll round it out then, or if there's any other questions. But I want to concur with what a lot of the board said. Great presentation. Really good to see the seclusion and restraint numbers come down because, like Michael said, I was here when there was a lot of that going on. Unified sports, I know this is very important because of the inclusion it creates, the camaraderie, and I like how Trustee Hansen kind of put it. As far as the funding, there used to be grants available. Are there still grants available? And we apply for those to help with the funding of it?
Yeah,
Okay.
so the grants are $1,500 per building that participates.
Per building?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
and so just to give an example of that though, like one game to Dexter may cost $400 or $500. Our transportation to go to Little Caesars Arena, obviously is like double that. So it is so appreciated that there is the grant funding. We would have to build a reproducible and sustainable funding structure.
Is this something that, have you looked into the CARES funding with this, or is that a possibility for grants through CARES?
Yeah, I think that we are working with Mr. Puffer. There's a large focus group that's looking at the expansion of unified sports, but in a systematic way that can provide access to all students in all buildings and all the different sports. So as alluded to, there's one particular building, and I'll just name Heritage, it's just a shining star of embracing unified sports. And so we'd love to do that in a systematic, sustainable for our staff and our team way. And so having a conversation with Brian Puffer about what that could look like, and then a funding model to match.
Great. Yeah, and then when we just talked about the pool construction, made me think, oh, transportation to Milan, what's that going to look like? And you kind of touched on transportation as kind of a difficulty sometimes, but hopefully we can make sure that we have transportation for those students, I guess, doing that. I like the project search. I think that's a great idea. Obviously, you know, you got a nice grant this time. I will probably send a follow-up email to Miranda, you, and Rachel about kind of what that looks like going forward. Some questions with Act 18. Does that kind of help? I don't know, but they can kind of dig into that for us and kind of respond back to that. That's not something anybody will know right now. So, anyways, no, great. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda is listed in the agenda and will not be read aloud. The motion noted will allow for the authorization of the listed items without discussion unless a member of the board requests to have any one or all considered individually. Can I have a recommended motion to authorize the consent agenda as printed?
Motion, Tizities.
Support, Berwick.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I'm going to abstain due to a connection on the human resource report. So it's carries 5-0 with 1 abstain. And then items scheduled for the next agenda.
August 4th will be, of course, talking about the outcomes of our millages that evening together as a team and continuing the great work ahead. We will be likely looking at our first read of the bullying policy from Troon, because that will need to be approved. That needs to go to 2 readings. And so we wanted to just kind of like chunk that into August for you. And a number of things that are coming together to closure, I'm sure we'll make that agenda. So more to come.
Okay, public comment. A member of the public may address the board briefly for up to 3 minutes or request to be scheduled on the agenda for a future meeting, and I don't have any of those. Next Board of Education meeting will be held on August 4th, 2026 at 6:30 p.m. We are going to go into closed session. We have 2 items in closed session. So the closed session, can I have a recommended motion to enter into closed session for the purpose of conducting the superintendent mid-year check-in as part of the established MASB superintendent evaluation process, as the superintendent requests the pursuant to Section 8A in the Open Meetings Act. Note, under the Michigan Open Meeting Act, a simple majority vote is required to enter into closed session for Section 8A. Can I have a motion for that one?
You may. So moved, McVeigh.
Will anyone be joining us other than Dr. Kowalski?
I think just Dr. Kowalski.
Okay.
Yep.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries 6-0 on that one. And can I have a recommended motion to enter into closed session for the purpose of considering materials exempt from public discussion or disclosure pursuant to Section 8H of the Michigan Open Meetings Act, with the intent to reconvene in open session approximately, let's just say 8:30 p.m. for both closed sessions. Under this Michigan Open Meetings Act, a 2/3 roll call vote for members is required to enter into closed session under 8H. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Support, Tizities.
Okay, and then Trustee Tizities?
Aye.
Trustee Gold?
Aye.
President Austin, aye. Secretary Berwick? Aye. Treasurer McVeigh?
Aye.
And Trustee Hansen?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Thank you. We'll move into closed session. Okay, can I have a recommended motion to adjourn the regular Board of Education meeting, July 14th, 2026 at 8:55 PM?
Motion, Tizities.
Second, Berwick.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 6-0. Thank you.